before we get to our big story, which again, I don't think should surprise anybody. Everyone's been talking about it. All the signs have been there. But Toomey put out a video that is really compelling, actually, and well done. I got like halfway through it before I had to go to bed last night. And she's going to focus on HYROX. Now, still going to go to the Torium Pro. Mm-hmm. But it seems like that is going to be for funsies, and whatever happens, happens. But that she's focused on HYROX.
She leaves it. You got to get to the end of the video.
What does Tia do for funsies? Athletic-wise.
Yeah, Tia doesn't do anything for funsies, but
she leaves.
I mean, she did the open for funsies and still easily walked into the top 1%.
Yeah. She left the video. If you go on their YouTube channel, she left it on a cliffhanger, basically saying she's going to do a Torium Pro but after that, not really sure about the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, but World Championships for HYROX are in Chicago, and that's what she's really focused on.
Isn't John Lilly going to that? Isn't he competing in that too? Maybe he is.
Probably.
Oh, is
he? I could be wrong about that.
In HYROX World Champions is the weekend of June 13th.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if he's like obviously not competing in the World Championships. No offense, John. Very fit. But I thought he's probably doing something different. Sorry.
Yeah,
anyway,
there could be. They could
go get him, kid.
They could have open divisions there at the championships. It's very possible because they run multi-days across the event. But I mean, in theory, if she could kind of leave it open, if she does earn a qualifying spot from Torium Pro, she could wait, right? See how the HYROX championships go, and then make a decision after that. At the same time, she's also talked like how she is training solely focused for HYROX. Yeah. She did the open workout. She hadn't touched the barbell in forever. And it's started to pay off, right? Like she set a world record in the women's doubles pro at HYROX Houston. And like in her third race ever, she sets a world record. Like,
so can I just go back a little bit when we had this discussion about Christy Aramo? And I made, it was for people who know me, I think they could tell that the remark I was making was somewhat tongue in cheek, but saying how, CrossFit athletes get in there, man, get some of that money, right? And I got hell for that.
Yeah, people were angry with you, Sean.
Like, wow, guys, calm down. Like, and I get it. If you don't know me, you don't know my sense of humor, and you don't know what I've said in the past. And I have plenty of respect for HYROX. I think those athletes are incredible. And obviously, you can't just jump into something and do well. But if you train for it, and you get ready for it, and you can be good at it. And I think that was my entire point that I was trying to make, not tongue in cheek, was that if there are some CrossFitters out there who want to give this a try and want to train at it, I think they would be very good. Well, here we are now with a CrossFitter who trained for it, went over there and absolutely demolished a world record. All right. So I accept your apology.
Yep. Exactly. It's really like she is really only trained for it for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. She's really only had this focusing for a short amount of time. And even still, like Christy Aramo had the success that she did training not super extensively with it.
And that was the whole point.
Exactly. And I don't know. I get it. People get really sensitive over their sport, and especially if it's something you found in your, I mean, people gatekeep subreddits on online. They'll gatekeep anything. And I get it. Like you want to make sure people are respectful of the work that you put in, and rightfully so. But I mean, it's hard to deny that there's some very talented athletes in CrossFit that are really good runners that could be really good at this.
Agreed.
And now the CrossFit GOAT is going over, and it's looking like she's going to do some damage.
And on the flip side of that, I think there are probably some very good HYROX athletes that if they wanted to be good at CrossFit could do it, could be very good at it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I no disrespect, man. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. I'm like, oh, hey, look, a CrossFitter just broke a world record at a HYROX event. Shocking.
Yep.
But it's also interesting when we talk about Tia, like, yeah, she will easily qualify through Torian, but if she doesn't believe that she can win the CrossFit Games, I don't think she would go and compete.
I would agree with you on that. I don't think, and I've made the joke doing this for funsies. I'm with you though. I don't think she would go to the games and be like, I'm either here to win or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Because why would you break the streak?
there's no
Not
reason.
that she has anything to prove, and if she
No,
wants to for fun, then fine, but I just don't foresee her competing at the CrossFit Games unless she's pretty confident that she will win.
and I think right now, given her priorities, and you
Yeah.
can't blame her because, like you just said, Lauren, she has nothing else to prove. This is the next thing on the list. Let's go see if I can. And I think that's honestly what kind of drives CrossFitters in general. It's like, what's the next thing? And a lot of that, a lot of that is often just in the gym in the context of CrossFit. Okay, well, I did this skill. Now can I master that? And when you're someone like Tia who's done it all, you're probably going to have to go outside the boundaries of your arena to go find that next thing. And HYROX is blowing up. It's super popular. You know, she has a chance to, make some good cash.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of training in the sense that it's very specific. You
Yeah.
know exactly what you're doing there with for CrossFit. Yeah, you know what movements to train for the most part. You know kind of what works to prepare you for the CrossFit Games, but this is so specific that even that type of carrot, I'm sure, is entertaining and exciting for her to
See?
take on something completely new.
And she's
Mhm.
still, relatively young when it comes to her athletic career. A lot of
I
tread
mean,
left on that tire.
for sure. I mean, honestly, if she goes to HYROX and like wins a world championship, maybe sets another world record, like for holds multiple world records, like we've talked about this before. Like, where does she stack up? Or like some of the
Mm.
greatest female athletes of all time?
It's a very interesting question. And I love talking about this because what is if you just put that out to any sort of sports fan, who are the greatest athletes, female athletes of all time? Her name probably does not come up. And it's just because of the
Whose name? Tia?
Tia's name doesn't come up. Just to a general person, someone who's not a CrossFit fan.
Oh, oh,
Her
yep.
name's not coming up. And it's just because people don't know about the sport. Uh, but if you which I believe, I think that it takes just as much talent to be at the top of your game in CrossFit and dedication as it does any other professional sport. And then you just assume that, okay, if you agree with that, we're now on a level playing field with all other sports. She's got to be up there. I don't know anybody else. Find me another female athlete that has dominated her first sport and then found success doing other
Mm.
things.
Yeah, because I think to be in that conversation, you have to be at least you have to be considered the greatest in your, we'll call it your native sport,
Mhm.
right? The sport that
I like that.
and she's done that. she's she's won it 7 times. She's
Mhm.
won every high level competition within that native sport possible, pretty much, and every one that she's attended at least. She's competed at the Olympic Games in weightlifting. Realistically, she should have competed at the Olympic Games in bobsled. So she
Mhm.
should have competed in both the summer and winter Olympic Games.
Mhm.
She was an excellent 400-meter hurdler, and now she has pivoted after having a kid to a new sport where she's set a world record in just her third attempt at it. Like, I mean, you take the like the labels off of it, and you go like the blind resume
Right.
route. Like, how do you not consider her one of the greatest? Like, she at this point, like she steps foot in the arena for a sport, and you're like, you better be worried.
Well, and I think too, it's just because individual sports that are not stick and ball sports aren't held in as high regard as, tennis, basketball, you name it, golf, um, Olympic sports. Like,
Mhm.
but Martina Navratilova's up there. Talk about dominance in her sport.
Yeah. I
Serena Williams, the Williams sisters, they're
Mhm.
up, but
Yeah.
they never crossed over to something else, and we're like, dang, you can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, like, you get, like, Jackie Joyner Kersee, right?
Mhm.
Because didn't she play basketball too? She was, like, an excellent
So
basketball
yeah,
player too, on top of being, like, one of the greatest women's track athletes. Um, so it's really, like, there isn't a whole ton of precedent for, like, crossover women's athletes in that regard. So,
yeah,
like, immediately she starts to work her way to the front of the line, I think.
I mean, I agree with you. Just based on resume, if you just had like a blind resume and you looked at the accomplishments, you'd be like, "Who the hell is this person?"
Yeah, seriously.
Like, went to competitions and never finished lower than second. Think about that. Every
Yeah.
time of the games,
Yeah.
her worst finish was second. Dominated in her margin of victory. Not, I mean, it was never close. It was
Yeah,
never. It was sorry. It was close. The first 2 years she finished second, and the first year she won. Beyond that, during her whole reign, it never was in doubt ever.
yeah,
And then,
crazy.
and then finished second at the Rogue Invitational. What, 5 months after having a kid?
Yeah.
That's wild.
So I think you definitely have to put her up there. But I think that the people who don't know about CrossFit and sort of just poo poo it, it's like, oh, all you're doing is just working out. Like, that's not really a sport. Well, yes, I get where you're coming from, because you're saying what you're used to seeing is fitness as a means to an end, not a means unto itself. And to be very good at this, you got to train your ass off. Like, I think CrossFit athletes at the pinnacle of their game train
Mhm.
just as hard as any other athlete, maybe even harder.
No doubt. Yeah.
So yeah, I with my a clearly biased opinion, but
I agree, and it's also,
probably I'm top 5 easily.
yeah, and there are a few, I mean, obviously, there are exceptions, right? Like, the training I so let me clarify the statement. It's also one of the few sports where I think training at the highest level, if other elite athletes tried to hop in, it would actually be dangerous to them. Like,
Yeah.
What
elite
say that
athletes
again?
hopping it's CrossFit, peak CrossFit athlete training, like, for the games at the highest level is such that I think other elite athletes trying to just hop in and do it, and mimic it
Yep.
Mm.
would be actually dangerous. I think, some
Mhm.
swimming sports and things like that where there's like harm, like there's a harm of drowning and things like that, but it's it's very unique in that element, right?
Mhm.
And obviously there's collision sports that could be harmful, but yeah, I just think the pure physical intensity of it is doesn't get enough credit for sure.
But if you just Google like greatest women's athletes, women
Mhm.
Mhm.
female athletes, let's see, Serena
There's like Clara Hughes, she was a dual sport Olympian.
Mhm.
Who's that?
Okay, so listen here, like, this is Serena Williams. Holds an incredible 94 WTA career titles with 22 Grand Slam titles. Also, the only tennis player of either gender to have ever won singles titles at least 6 times in 3 of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments.
Hmm.
Right.
Dang.
Okay. Yes, you're up there. You know, absolutely. Might put you above the resume, probably gets you above Tia with all that, Um, but to me, like again, the one thing that none of these athletes have is the success across
Mhm.
venue. And you can argue
Diversity and athleticism.
there is an argument to be made that, yeah, but are HYROX and CrossFit really that different? You know, sure.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I just looked up. Her name's Babe Zaharias,
Mhm.
or she won 2 gold medals and a silver in track and field at the Olympics, and then turned to professional golf and won 10 LPGA major
Well, there you go.
championships.
Okay, there's another one.
That one's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty solid too. That's why I said top 5. I think, Tia is
Yeah.
somewhere there in the top 5, but, um, yeah, there's some pretty incredible athletes, on in women's sports and what they've accomplished. But I think that if people took CrossFit as seriously as some of these other sports, I think she's probably in the conversation. She's gotta be,
Yeah.
has to be.
Yeah. No doubt.
I'd
She got
agree.
my vote.
Yeah, I know
Same.
I know I'm incredibly biased. I get it. I'd have trouble convincing a lot of people that know nothing about CrossFit that she deserves to be there. Um, but yeah, I think you can make a case for her to be inside the top 5.
Mhm.
Just and I think too the longevity of it as well. Look how long she's been doing it and not really slowing down. And that's
No,
the other thing
just
that
ramping up.
the other thing that always impressed me about Tia, and we saw this with other champions. And Tommy, think back to when Katrin won back to back, right? That gap was growing. It was very clear, like, people are coming up. The gap never narrowed with Tia. Like there was never anybody that you're like, oh, what? Hey, that person's getting close, and Tia's at her peak. Tia, it just kept getting wider. There was never in doubt.
Yeah, I mean, Tia even mentioned it. Like she in that video, she's like, it feels good to be chasing again.
Yeah,
and not because she honestly wasn't even really chased that much.
No, when you haven't wrapped up, and think about this too. Is like I think about her reaction to winning her first one and how emotional that was. And then her reaction every subsequent year after that. It was like, yep, thanks. And I liken it to going way back here, the old Soviet hockey team that used to just wipe the floor with everybody in the 70s and the 80s, and winning was just routine. And when they got beat by the Americans in the Olympics and the Miracle on Ice, a lot of them just, there's that shot. That's the shots of all of them just kind of sitting at the blue line waiting for the United States to get done celebrating, kind of with these looks on their faces like, wow, I'm not used to seeing that, because there was no joy in it anymore for them. And I think because winning has become so routine for Tia, maybe it has taken some of the joy out of it for her. And now this new endeavor and this chasing, like you mentioned, gives that to her. And
she wants a challenge.
Yes.
That's great.
That's how I feel at the local pickleball courts at my,
just dominating fools.
Tired of just,
Is there no one who will face me?
Watch your mouth, Mildred. I see you talking back there.
None of you worthy.